I boarded the USC GCC Glacier in November of 1972. I was 22, a fresh-faced radio operator looking for adventure at the bottom of the world. I didn't know then that the bottom of the world has teeth. The first night on board, while the hull groaned against the pack ice like a dying animal, Chief Officer Miller called me into his quarters. Miller was a mountain of a man, skin weathered like old leather, eyes that looked like they'd seen things that didn't belong on a map. He didn't offer me a drink. He didn't welcome me aboard. He just handed me a piece of paper. It wasn't official stationery. It was torn from a logbook, stained with coffee and grease. "Read it," Miller said. His voice was flat, dead. I looked at the paper. 5 rules, handwritten in jagged, heavy script. I laughed. I actually laughed. I thought it was a joke, just like the hazing rituals back at boot camp. Rule number 1, I read out loud. If the sonar picks up a rhythmic tapping from the hull below the waterline, cut the power immediately. Do not investigate. Miller didn't smile. Rule number 2, I continued. If you see a man walking on the ice without a coat, do not alert the bridge. Do not stop the ship. Do not look at his face. Rule number 3, if the radio picks up a broadcast from Station 4, turn off the receiver. Rip the wires out if you have to. There is no Station 4. Rule number 4, if the water around the ship turns a bright phosphorescent green, lock all external hatches. Ignore any knocking you hear on the portholes. And rule number 5, if you hear voices coming from the ice, pray they don't use your name. I looked up at Miller. Is this for real, Chief? Station 4? A man walking on the ice? We're 1,000 miles from civilization. Miller leaned forward. The steel blue intensity in his eyes reminded me of a wolf staring down prey. You followed the rules, son. They're the only reason I'm still breathing. Ignore them, and you'll join the crew from the 68 expedition. What happened to them? I asked. They answered the broadcast. I took the paper. I memorized it. But I didn't believe it. Not until 2 weeks later.
It was 0200 hours. The graveyard shift lived up to its name out there. The sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving us in a twilight that felt wrong, like the sky was bruised. I was in the comms room, nursing a lukewarm coffee. The ship was cutting through thin ice. Crack, crack. A constant grinding rhythm I'd almost gotten used to. Then the rhythm changed. Clang, clang, clang. It wasn't the ice. It was metallic, sharp. It was coming from the hull, directly beneath my feet. I froze. I counted the beats. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. SOS. Someone was banging on the hull from the outside, underwater. My first instinct was to grab the intercom. We had divers? Was someone stuck? I reached for the handset to call the bridge. Then Miller's voice echoed in my head. Rule number 1, cut the power immediately. I hesitated. The banging got louder, faster, desperate. Clang, clang, clang. It sounded like a hammer striking the steel plates. No human could swing a hammer that hard underwater. I looked at the sonar screen. A massive shape was rising from the deep directly under the ship. It wasn't a whale. It was jagged. Too many limbs. My hand hovered over the sonar power switch. The investigate part of my brain was screaming, "Help them!" But then the banging changed. It wasn't just a rhythm anymore. It was mimicking the sound of the engine. I slammed the power switch down. The sonar screen went black. The room went silent. The banging stopped instantly. I sat there for an hour, shaking. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't have to. The next morning, I saw deep dents in the steel hull plating near the waterline. They looked like they'd been made by knuckles.
A week later, I was bringing coffee up to the bridge. The captain was staring out at the white expanse, his face pale. "Don't look," he whispered as I walked in. I looked. About 200 yards off the starboard bow, a man was walking on the ice. He was wearing a black business suit. No coat, no hat. He was carrying a briefcase. It was minus 40 degrees out there. The wind alone would strip the skin off your face in minutes. He was walking casually, matching the speed of the Icebreaker perfectly. He didn't stumble on the drifts. He didn't shiver. "Captain," the helmsman said, his voice trembling. Should we hail him?" "Rule number 2, the captain barked. "Keep your eyes forward. Maintain course." I watched the man through the reflection in the glass. He turned his head. He wasn't looking at the ship. He was looking right at me. He didn't have a face, just a smooth patch of pale skin where eyes and a mouth should be. He raised a hand and waved. A slow, stiff wave. I dropped the coffee pot. It shattered. The captain spun around. "Get out of here!" he screamed at me. "Get below decks! Now!" I ran. I didn't stop running until I reached my bunk. When I woke up the next morning, the captain was gone. The official log said he fell overboard during a routine inspection. But I knew the truth. I checked the logbook. The entry for that night was scribbled out, but I could make out 2 words. He entered. The captain hadn't fallen. He'd opened a hatch. He'd let something in. The real horrors started on Christmas Eve. We were stuck in pack ice, waiting for the wind to shift. The ship was silent. The crew was on edge. I was on radio watch. The static was bad that night. Solar flares, they said. Then the static cleared. Crystal clear audio flooded the room. "Station 4, calling USCGC Glacier. Come in, Glacier." My blood ran cold. Rule number 3. I reached for the dial to kill it. "Jimmy," the voice said. "Jimmy, is that you?" I stopped. My hand shook. It was my mother's voice. My mother who had been dead for 3 years. "Jimmy, it's so cold here. The water is so dark. Why won't you let us in?" "Mom," I whispered. I couldn't help it. "We're just outside, Jimmy. Open the hatch, please. It hurts." I was weeping. I stood up. I started walking toward the heavy steel door that led to the deck. I had to help her. I had to let her in. I had my hand on the wheel of the hatch door. The metal was freezing against my palm. "Open it, Jimmy," the voice on the radio screamed. It wasn't sad anymore. It was hungry. Slam! Chief Miller tackled me. He hit me hard, driving the wind out of my lungs. He didn't say a word. He dragged me back to the console and ripped the radio wires out of the wall. Sparks showered down on us. The voice cut off instantly. Miller stood over me, panting. He looked at the hatch I had almost opened. "That wasn't her," he said. "It sounded like her," I sobbed. "They always do," Miller said. "That's how they get you to open the door."
He pulled a flask from his pocket and took a long drink. Station 4 isn't a radio station, kid. It's a depth recording. That broadcast is coming from 3 miles down.
I left the Coast Guard the day we docked in New Zealand. I never went back to sea. I'm an old man now. I live in Arizona, as far from the ocean as I can get. But sometimes, when the house is quiet and the wind howls just right, I hear it. Clang, clang, clang. And I remember the look in the captain's eyes before he vanished. I thought I was done with the rules. I thought I left them on that ship. But yesterday, a letter arrived in my mailbox. No return address. The envelope was damp, smelling of salt water. Inside was a single sheet of paper, torn from a logbook, stained with coffee and grease. It had a new rule on it. Rule number 6. They know where you live now. Keep the lights on. I haven't slept in 24 hours. All the lights in my house are blazing. But I can see them outside. Shadows moving across my lawn. A man in a suit, standing under the street lamp, waving at my window. And if I listen closely, I can hear tapping on my front door. Rhythmic, metallic. Clang, clang, clang. I'm going to go check the lock one more time.